Welcome back to Rich Dad Stockcast. I'm your host, Del Denny, and today we're answering one of the most practical questions we get. How do you actually build a stock portfolio from scratch? Not everyone starts with hundreds of thousands of dollars. Most people start with a few thousand, maybe even a few hundred. So where do you begin? How many stocks should you own? How do you know what to buy first? And how do you avoid building a portfolio that's full of just random ideas instead of a real strategy? Today, Rich Dad expert Andy Tanner is going to walk us through how to build a stock portfolio the right way from the ground up. And before we get into it, make sure you head over to stockcastbonus.com, grab your free investing tools. If you're ready to build your portfolio with purpose instead of guesswork, that's where you start. Andy, welcome back.
Boy, this is going to be an interesting episode. I don't really look at the analytics of this podcast like I should. I might look at the analytics on this one because you'll have to have a little metal to make it through. And so I'll get into why I believe that is. But a person, I think I actually will chase some people away, which is fine. But there'll be some. I'm gonna be hard hitting. I'm gonna coach people up. I'm gonna coach some people up. And some people love it. They're like, coach me, man, push me. And other people are like, oh, I'm afraid. So we'll find out who's got some metal here. And maybe we gain a few subscribers. Maybe we lose a few. We'll see. So,
we'll see. I know personally, I like it when my coaches beat me up a little bit. So I'm going to say, I'm going to welcome it.
We're not going to throw any punches, but this is an important discussion. This is something I take serious, right? We're going to start investing. We're not going to, this isn't entertainment. This is edutainment. This is education. It's time to do stuff. So that's a big deal.
Now, before we get into it, I'd like to say every expert begins as a beginner, right? Stockcastbonus.com, great place for beginners and the experience for that matter. Why should they go there? Well,
number one, it's good and it's bad. The good news is it's free. And the bad news is it's free. We love an idea of a sample. Get to know us, get yourself going on some basic financial education. I've had people who have invested for years and years go there and download some of those free ebooks. Like, wow, it changed the way I approached it, Andy. Totally changed the way I approached it. It's really about action taking. And some people have the ability to take action, and some people have the ability to invest, and some people have the inability to do both. They can't do either. So at least StockcastBonus.com has a test of people's ability to take action. Like, I can go there, I can sign for something, I can learn something. And there's no barrier to entry with price. So that's nice because it takes away excuses. But I think what a great opportunity for anyone to go and get downloads and tools and webinars and ebooks and get your financial education going with no cost, just effort. And that effort is something we'll talk about today. It's pretty important. And the reason you can see a rant coming is I just looked at some data. I was going through some numbers yesterday, and it just aggravated me. It just made me crazy. I get a little nutty. I get a little impulsive. So I got a little nutty yesterday looking at some data that I'll share.
All right. I'm excited for this data. So let's do this. Let's start with the basics, the foundation. If someone were opening their very first brokerage account today, where do they begin?
I would start with context rather than a to-do list. I think Robert Kiyosaki is the best master of context I've ever met. You see, and maybe there's one better than him in the Bible. It's in three of the Gospels. I think it's in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. I don't think John hit this. My Bible scholars can hammer on me for not knowing my Bible well enough, and I'll welcome that hammering. But a sower went out to sow seeds, and the sower threw some seeds out, and some landed by the wayside, and the birds ate them, and some landed in shallow ground and didn't get much root, so the sun scorched it, and some were among the thorns and the weeds and got choked out. And some of them landed on good ground, and they yielded, tenfold, hundredfold, 30-fold. And that's a lot how this is what I say to one, I say to all, the seed is the same. When I go to an event and there's, 2,000 people out in the crowd, they all hear the same words. So why varied results? Well, the same as those seeds. It's the ground. It's the ground. So I can sit here and say, here's what to do to everybody without tilling any of the ground. Well, the context is the ground. It's what's ready to receive that seed. And if the context hasn't been prepared, cultivated, the seeds they just bounce, get eaten by the birds. They don't really have it. So I would start with context. Now, one of the most important contexts to have before you start this is something called an internal locus of control. Investors and entrepreneurs naturally have a preponderance of an internal locus, meaning that they believe that they can make their own future, that they matter. So a person with an external locus of control would say, I can't be rich because of all my circumstances. Let me show you what an external locus of control looks like. Well, I can't be rich because my parents were dumb with money. I can't be rich because my spouse is a raging maniac and he or she, we can't get on the same page. I can't be rich because we got the wrong guy in the White House. We got this guy or that guy. We got the wrong guy. I can't be rich because the Fed is printing too much money. It's causing inflation. I can't be rich because we have a war over here. I can't be rich because of blah, blah, blah. I can't be rich because AI is taking my job. I can't be rich. All these are external forces that victimize. And that's called an external locus of control, where you believe the external circumstances determine your wealth. An internal locus of control is power. It's an infusion of power. Now, the reality is we have both. You get a cancer diagnosis, that's an external influence that makes your life suck for a little bit, but it also brings you closer to family and you love your wife more than ever because you just realize how precious it is. So, and there's internal locus and how we're going to react to that. We're going to crawl up in a ball. We're going to fight, right? What are we going to do? How are we going to handle this with dignity and grace, or be a victim all day long? So that's a big deal, that internal locus. Well, when my wife and I got married, we went to see one of my first rich dad. Love this man to this day. He's older and wiser now, but he was my friend's father. It was just like Rich Dad. I had a friend with a rich dad. So this is before Rich Dad came out, but I went to see him with my wife, and I made an appointment with his office. His name's Lynn. And me and my wife showed up, and I said, well, we want to be rich. How do we start? How do we start investing? It's just the same thing you're saying, Del. Where do you start? Square one. And he said, well, how much money do you have to invest? And I said, well, none. That's where you come in. You're supposed to solve this problem for me. That's why we came here. If we had the money, we wouldn't need to come here. Came here because we had no money. And he chewed my you-know-what out, basically. And he said, if you can't save, you can't invest. You have a discipline issue. We can't even talk about education and no discipline. Wow. He says, get out of my office, basically. He wasn't that mean, but in so many words, he says, look, why don't you come back when you have some money to invest? You're living in the greatest country in the world. You're in your early 20s now, and you don't have any money. What business do you have being in the greatest country in the world, claiming you want to be rich, and you haven't saved anything? You have nothing in your pocket with opportunity to work as much as you want to work and do as much as you want to do. Send me away. I was so mad. He knew how to push the buttons. He was a great coach. And I said, Marcy, how much are we going to save every month? We decided we're going to find $500 a month to put away, which over 12 months is like $6,000 or something like that. We went back there 1 year later, 12 months later, and we walked in $6,000 and said, let's start. So the story to the Maury there, if I can say it that way. Do you know how many millionaires were made in the United States in 2025 last year? Do you know how many people became millionaires?
Quite a bit, but I'm curious.
440,000 people became millionaires last year.
Amazing.
That's 1,200 millionaires a day that crossed that threshold of $1 million. Now, $1 million isn't what it used to be, but $1 million of anything is still count $1 million of something. That's a lot. And you know how many of them, they ran I can't remember which company ran it. They ran the survey of these millionaires. And they said, how'd you make it? 5% said they had some type of windfall, some lucky thing happened. 12% said mom and daddy gave it to us. We're trust funders. We got it from mom and daddy. 79% are self-made. The Fed has printed $23 trillion, $9 trillion in the last 10 years. $9 trillion. We're swimming in money. We're freaking swimming in money. Your chances, well, not your chances, but the likelihood of picking someone out of the 349 million people in the United States, there's about 25 million millionaires out of that 300,000 people. And there's only, like, a lot of those are children. If you go 18 and over, you're looking at 270 million people. That means about 8% of our population, 1 out of every 13 people is a millionaire in this country. 1 out of every 13. It's harder to make a varsity basketball team statistically. It's harder to get a D1 scholarship by freaking far than to do this. So, when people, I'm just kind of on a rant right now, because you get up in the morning, you can go to stockcastbonus.com right now and start learning how to get rich for no money. Go get rich. Go learn it. Go learn it. So the first place to start, this is why I said I'll probably lose some subscribers, because those with an external locus control, their mind is screaming right now. But I'm in a different circumstance, and I'm special. Those with an internal locus, like, you know what? I got one job. Study assets instead of studying paychecks. Got one job. That's rich dad, poor dad. Are you going to study to chase a paycheck in your life? Are you going to put your time, energy, and money into studying how to get a paycheck? Or are you going to put your time, energy, and money in studying how to acquire assets? What are you going to choose to learn? You'll get good at either one. If you put in a lot of time, energy, and money and go to school and all that, you can get a bigger paycheck. Put a lot of time, energy, and money in your financial education, you're going to learn how to buy assets. And it's just how it goes. So those with an internal locus of control get two things here: hope, power, excitement. They get juiced up. They're like, my gosh, I'm going to go and I'm going to start this. I'm going to start today, and I'm going to learn. And I'm going to take what I can do, which is massive in this country. We have the internet, we have AI, we have all these tools. Learn. Go, do, buy, make mistakes, go. But other people are trapped with an external locus of control. So if you want to start getting smarter, start saving a little bit, and you can't invest if you don't save unless you're in the debt game, which is great. But even then, you've got to learn the debt game. If you want to borrow your money to invest with, got to learn the debt game. So learning is where we start with an internal locus of control. Now, in the second half, we can start to go from context. Once we build the fruit bowl, we can start putting apples and oranges in it and put in the content. You need both if you want to eat, but the context has to come first, or you got no vessel to hold the liquid to drink. You'll go thirsty if you don't have both. If you have a vessel with no content, empty vase, no food, no water, empty vessel. But if you just have the water out there, you got no vessel to hold it. So you have to have both if you want to eat and drink and get nutrient.
There we go. Beautiful. Let's do this. Let's go to our break here. We'll fill our vessel here in just a moment. A great portfolio isn't built by accident. It's built intentionally, one smart decision at a time. So when we come back, Andy's going to explain how to manage a portfolio, how to build it up, the habits that separate successful investors from everyone else. And don't forget, go to stockcastbonus.com, download your free investing resources. That's where you learn how to build a portfolio with confidence. Make sure you stick around. We'll be right back.
Yep.
So far, it's been great. I needed a source where I could really enrich my education through stocks. I didn't really have an avenue for it, and it's helped me a lot. The simplicity has really gotten me on the track to where I enjoy the learning as well as it's really solidifying in my mind. And like, they're not just trying to sell you something, they really care about the people that are in the course, and they really do care about you and your personal goals, and what you want to do is to help you and your family and whatever your goals are in life through that. So it's really been great.
Welcome back to Rich Dad Stockcast. Andy, once someone has started to want a portfolio. They want wealth. They have their savings in place. They've got their vessel, their context. What do we start putting in it? What do we start doing?
Well, you could buy any asset. And to start with, I love what Kim Kiyosaki said. We were in Argentina. I think my kids are like 8 and 10 years old, and they're in Argentina. And Kim was telling the group, if you had no asset, go buy a silver coin, at least get something in there. Just start. And don't be afraid of making mistakes. Now, if you prefer to make fewer mistakes, get a mentor. We have our mentor club where we build portfolios every week. We buy stuff every week, and we say, this is what we're buying. Watch us go. And people can shadow us and follow along with that. But be careful with trying to picking a stock isn't like picking a spouse. I think the most important decision a person makes is A, do I want to be married? And B, who should that person be? We shouldn't rush either of those. And, it's fine to be not married. It's fine to be married, but it impacts your life a lot, whether you decide to do it or not. It's a big deal when you share your life with someone. Picking a stock's not like that. It's not like choosing a spouse. You'd hope you'd be married forever, and Buffett's favorite holding period is forever, and so is mine until it's not, right? Sometimes you do have to get rid of the stock, exit strategy, and sometimes in marriage, that's the best thing to do. It's a good move, and go try again, right? It works. But picking a stock isn't like picking a spouse. It isn't like you have to have the very, 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 very best cream of the crop, best one. Munger taught Buffett this great thing. Buffett was, he'd find really crummy companies that were starting to go down, and he says, there's a cigar with a couple puffs left in it. Everyone knows that the price is so low, I'll probably be able to buy it, have a little bump, sell it, and go off. And that's what he did. He did the cigar butt strategy. And Munger changed it. Munger comes in, late Charlie Munger, he says, look, let's just buy really good companies at a fair price rather than fair companies at a good price. And I would suggest that the same way. So buy the things that you have confidence in buying, meaning if you have an iPhone and you plan on getting the new one, then that should give you confidence as a buyer to be a seller. If you go to Costco every Saturday and you drop a bunch of coin in Costco and you look around seeing everybody, if you have the confidence to buy there, have the confidence to sell there. If you pay for a Verizon Wireless every month and you have the confidence to buy Verizon Wireless, have the confidence to sell Verizon Wireless. And none of these companies that Warren Buffett owns are like the best. Moody's, is that the best company? Heinz, I own Kraft Heinz. That thing's been sitting in 30 to 40 for 1,000 years. Pays a nice dividend. But these companies, they're good companies, but they're not the best ones. And so just kind of picture a red carpet event where someone pulls up in a Lambo or a big Rolls Royce and they say, well, gee, what does that person do? And they say, well, they're a huge shareholder in Verizon. Okay. You don't have to have the best one, right? Oh, you had John Kerry and his spouse was part of the Heinz dynasty, I think. Okay, why is she so rich? Well, she's part of the Heinz family. Oh, that makes sense. Hershey. So these are good American companies. You don't need to have the best one. You don't need to go find, don't start off by saying, I'm going to find the 10 bagger where I'm going to get 1,000% return, 10x, right? No, find a good company that, open your refrigerator and see what you buy, and then go buy that food company. Open up your pantry, look at your American Express bill and say, maybe I want to own American Express. Or, look, it's giving me thumbs up here. It's reading my body language. Maybe there's things on that American Express bill that you buy that you'd like to turn around and sell and start there. Buy 100 shares of something. Buy something just for the experience of buying. Get a mentor to guide you, to help you make those decisions a little bit, which is different than a financial advisor. But start there. Start small and start slow. and then learn what I would call it like a triple income stock strategy, where you learn to sell a put to get paid to buy it. You learn to sell out of the money covered calls that you don't want to get called away, but they're 90% expiring worthless, and learn how to deal with the 10% that don't. Find a stock that pays a good dividend, and now you have 3 incomes from one stock. That's usually where we start most of our students, is with a triple income stock strategy. Learn how to sell for premium, which is a trade, and learn how to buy a stock and get a dividend, which is a cash flow. And all 3 of those, which is an investment. And all 3 of those incomes can start to increase compounding. And there you go. Then you reinvest. You get some income, and you take that income and you buy more. I don't like buying low and selling high as much. I like to buy, receive income, and buy, and receive income, and buy, and receive income, and buy. And I think that's how Warren Buffett did it. And I think it's the best chance for most people. It's just, Warren Buffett, ironically, is one of the most copyable strategies for the average person. You take his stuff and read it and get some mentors that know how to do it and start copying that.
Love it. All right. This is more of a rapid fire question, because this question could be a whole podcast in itself.
Oh, it will be with me. You know that.
Someone's sitting there, they're building their portfolio. When it comes to buy, the brokerage is going to be pushing a mutual fund as their first thing, right? There's probably an advertisement or something, right? Mutual funds. I'm just going to hand that to you. What's your thoughts on that? Because the beginner is going to be thinking, that's where I go, diversification. What should we do?
Well, does Buffett buy mutual funds? Do I buy mutual funds? Mutual funds are a product that has fees and managers, and it's advice. And you can pay for advice, you can pay for education. Advice won't make you smarter, but it'll have people telling you what to do. Most funds, large cap funds, fail to beat the S&P. If you go to SPIVA, which is the S&P versus actively managed funds, you go to SPIVA, 89.93, which is 89.93 to me is 90%. 90% of them underperform the S&P. Why? Well, here's the simple equation. Averageness average performance. Here's the equation. Average performance minus a fee equals below average performance. Let me say that again. Average performance minus a fee equals below average performance. So the reason 90% of them underperform is because they diversify like the S&P would anyway, and they charge you for doing it. And so you underperform. Warren Buffett said that diversification addresses ignorance. It's a response to ignorance, and it makes no sense for those of us that know what we are doing. So if you're going to go to a mutual fund, that is a confession, to borrow Munger's phrase. It's a confession in our view that they don't understand the businesses that they're owning. They're just buying a bunch, hoping winners outnumber losers. You're believing in American business, but that's great for an ignorant investor. It's better than doing nothing at all. But if you want to be an educated investor, you don't need that. You don't need to pay a fee to be average. You can just do it. So I don't like mutual funds. I think they're a product to help get assets under management, and I just don't see. I mean, I know guys like Ramsey like them, but that's not creativity. That's not learning anything. That's not ingenuity. That's not brilliance. It's average minus a fee is below average performance.
Now, if someone doesn't want to be average and they want to learn a complete framework for building a portfolio with confidence, where would they go?
Any direction that's action. You could go in any direction. You could go buy some stuff and learn from mistakes. You just start taking action. And mistakes are an incredible teacher. So you could just start go buying stuff and seeing what went wrong. That's an expensive way, but great lessons. You just start buying things. You could get a mentor. You could go read Warren Buffett's shareholder letters. You could ask AI, 20 questions. You could play the cash flow game and learn a ton. Doing something, the thing we instruct people to do every week is to go to the stockcastbonus.com and go there and get the free downloads and the free stuff. Action right now is so it really. I was telling my boys, reminding my boys, it's kind of like what Dana White said. Have you seen that viral thing of Dana White where he
Which one?
Where he says, if you're at all a savage, you'll just kill it. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah,
it's so good.
That's right.
It's like
the bar is
there's
low.
so many there's so many freaking cupcakes out there that if you're at all a savage, you're going to kill it. And I wouldn't say it that way. That's kind of mean spirited, but he's a UFC guy, so he likes blood and, punching and guys tapping out. He loves savages, right? It's a very savage world he lives in. UFC is savage. But I put a little softer maybe, but I say, sons, right now, there's so much content being consumed that if you're an action taker at all, because the dopamine from watching is sufficient to keep people watching. The dopamine by watching is sufficient to keep people watching. But if you're at all an action taker, do any of those things and you'll be a savage. Just take the time, take your watch time. I think you can record it on your phone or on your computer and say, all right, here's how much time I spent scrolling podcasts, stuff like this, whatever. And then put that in a spreadsheet and say, all right, how much time did I actually spend buying assets? How much time would I spend with my attorney, getting my entities right? How much time did I spend with my tax advisor making a real plan? And how many assets did I buy as opposed to how many shorts I watched? And I'll tell you, a lot of that will be 1,000 to 0. 1,000 to 0. They'll watch 1,000 shorts, 1,000 shorts, and they'll have bought 0 asset. So my big thing is, it doesn't really matter what you do. Just take some action and just start balancing the content consumption with the actual action that's taking place.
Indeed. Well said. Well said. Listeners, every great portfolio starts with a single decision, but lasting wealth comes from building it with discipline, with education, and really repeatable systems. You don't need to know everything to get started, but you do need a plan. You need to take action. And a big thank you to Andy Tanner for giving us a practical blueprint for building a stock portfolio from scratch. Now, if you're ready to build your portfolio with confidence instead of confusion, head over to stockcastbonus.com right now. You'll find free tools and resources designed to help you to become a smarter, more disciplined investor. Now, if this episode gave you any sort of value whatsoever, make sure you like it, subscribe, share it with someone who's ready to start investing the right way. Now, you're not here by accident. You're building something that most people won't. So stay smart, stay invested, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Del.
This podcast is a presentation of Rich Dad Media Network.